We are live tonight. We have James joining us, aka Mouse, and we got a great show planned. There's a lot of people talking about New Jerusalem. They're also talking about this comet 3I Atlas, or what they've dubbed an interstellar object. This scientist, Avi Loeb, who is talking about the object and has caused quite a controversy, has basically triggered the whole alternative media to start reporting on this. Now, there's even Pastor Paul Bagley has come out, started talking about the city of New Jerusalem, some of its specifications, how it could be a cube. And it makes you wonder what is really going down. Guys, thanks for tuning in to the Shepard Ambellas show. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the show out. And we will be providing lots of upcoming updates with the telescope that James has gotten for us, and here in the near future. So I'm excited for that. James, welcome to the show. It's going to be a great broadcast. I know that. Oh, wow. Look at that thing. I mean, look at the lens on that. That's a lens. That thing's like 10 inches. Wow.
Look at that. That's number one. These are the secondary scopes. So what we're building here is it's called the SHEP, SHEP, and we're basically building our own amateur observatory. This is the second one. It's a little bit more powerful, but as you can see, we have two as the secondary lenses, just so we don't miss anything with this SHEP. This is extremely serious. Let me just say a prayer. Should I do the prayer thing? You want me to do the prayer thing?
Absolutely, of course, yeah.
All right, here we go. Dear Lord God, beautiful Sunday today, even though, the earth is dealing with some climate effects. We still respect your creation, and you have just made such a beautiful world, dear God. I ask that there's laughter and peace and love during this broadcast. I ask that whatever we talk about, it's in accordance to your will, and we're able to clearly explain things so that it triggers something in somebody or everyone to where they can understand what we're putting down here on this channel. Thank you, dear Lord, for letting things happen so quickly from when Shep and I first started talking. None of this stuff was actually happening when we were talking about it, and then it all started happening. So I pray that you encourage people to share this broadcast, and that we just bring glory to you, dear God. That's what we want to do here. We want to bring glory to you. In your precious Son's name, Jesus, I pray. Amen.
Awesome, brother. I mean, I've seen so many people talking about Satan's little season now, all of a sudden. Comet Atlas, the interstellar object, and New Jerusalem, all these topics that we've talked about. You originally brought the Satan's little season theory up on the show, and it might be actually important to recap and kind of let the listeners know your theory about this, because I definitely think this ties into everything and ties into Planet X, the arrival of the Nemesis star system, all the weather changes. I got some videos later on that we can show. Wisconsin underwater, China, other parts of the world, and it's not stopping. Nothing is getting any better. It just seems to persist. So we'll see where it's all headed. But can you break down the Satan's little season theory just a little bit for us?
Absolutely. So this is not a fringe theory. This is something that hundreds of millions of Christians are coming to the conclusion to. And that is that we are not actually living in the Scofield's Bible's dispensational view of our timeline, and that we're actually living after the millennial reign of Jesus. So when Jesus in the Bible is telling his followers and his disciples, hey, these events are going to happen in your generation, when
Mhm.
John, the Revelator, is writing the book of Revelation to the seven churches of Asia, he says that these events will soon take place. They are happening quickly. The time is at hand. So all of those events in Revelation that weren't sealed happened to those seven churches, because those seven churches don't exist anymore. And if the Bible says it and you believe the Bible as the truth, well, then it has to happen. So we have been conditioned to read the Bible as if all of this stuff still has to happen to us, when
Right.
in fact it happened when Jesus said it was going to happen, and that was within the disciples' generation. So you look at, how is that possible, right? How could they do that? Well, we have something called the Dark Ages, which is 1,000 years where they just have no idea what happened, right? That was the 1,000 years of Jesus. So Jesus fulfilled everything he said he was going to do in the time frame, that generation. He said he was going to do it. He did not give an hour or day, but you can clearly see in historical evidence that this earth got smoked. I mean, that's why a lot of the trees are under 300 years old. That's why a third of the earth is desert. That's why the seven churches in Asia don't exist. So what happened is Jesus already reigned for 1,000 years. He came back when he said he was going to come back. And we are actually living in Revelations 20, which is Satan's little season. So Satan was put into the abyss when Jesus came back. He was in darkness for 1,000 years. That's why it's called the Dark Ages. And now he's been released for a short season, and he's allowed to deceive the nations again. And his main goal is to surround the camp of the saints, the city that God loves, and try to destroy it. And I believe that's where we're at right now. And I think we have strong evidence for it. And in the past 90 days, none of this stuff was happening. And now it's all happening. So I encourage you to buckle up, share this broadcast, because this is critical information coming. Critical. So we
Absolutely.
need to get this narrative out. We got to get it out.
Well, the thing is like they showed up with this comet atlas, and then the mainstream right away. The mainstream came out and they said, "Well, they said, look, we're gonna go right. You know, we're gonna get right into it, I guess." And they're basically like, aliens are arriving. So there was right away there was this extraterrestrial vibe, but at the same time, we saw Dr. Stephen Greer for the past 60 or 90 days come out and really push this thing that there's going to be some disclosure like any minute now. And he went from telling us that there's aliens all over to basically everything's a government craft. And then there's these whistleblowers that were brought forth. And if you think about it, I mean, what a great way just to identify these whistleblowers and who's going to blow the whistle, and then log them, or, you know, now target them, right, through his program. And that's what it kind of seems like to me. And now there's other people talking about that on
So it's like
podcasts. I've seen.
it's like they're saying, it's like they're giving you, he gave them a false sense of safety. He said, yeah, go ahead, come out and say stuff. So then when they started coming out and saying stuff, he immediately swooped them all up.
Exactly, that's what I think. And I think probably the military, you know, got in on it, and they're like, well, who's this guy and what's he saying? You know, who's that guy? Let's target him. You know, a lot of people came out over the last, I guess, more than a decade now, probably like 15 years, with the Disclosure Project or something like that. So it seems to me like all those pieces fit. And then there's like the Al Gore narrative. So back in the late 1980s, 89 or so, Al Gore came out and he said, well, we're going to have global warming, ocean levels will rise, the weather's going to get bad. And I realized that was all a narrative that they were trying to like build up and get people on so that they could ultimately, as these disasters started ramping up, as the planet is moving closer now, and we're seeing persistent flooding globally, they could use that to blame this on humans, blame it on global warming, and then even go as far as now to blame it on weather weaponry and stuff. So it's like the last thing they're trying to do is tell us that this planet's coming. It could possibly be the new Earth. It could possibly have the city of New Jerusalem with it. And, you know, I just find all that totally fascinating how that all dovetails together.
Sure. So, your viewers are here to figure out what's going on next, right? So I want to take a couple steps back of how we got here. I contacted Shep a couple months ago because I figured out that he's actually one of the only true investigative journalists left that isn't co-opted, because they took, during that disease that happened in 2019, they took the mainstream media and collapsed it on purpose by giving false information that the people figured out. And then everybody filtered into these thousands of talking heads of alt media, which are now going to be used to push the narrative of the truth. And they're going to collapse that again. But Shep and I started talking, and I told him, I said, here's what's going to happen, this, and this. And it agreed with a lot of what Shep wrote 25 years ago, because this stuff isn't like, I'm not a prophet, okay? This isn't a prophecy. This is stuff that they publish of what's going to happen. And all you have to do is really just take the Bible and apply it at the truth of what it is and put it into where we're at. So I said, this is going to happen. And then 30 days later, like 30, 60 days later, this stuff started to pop off. There wasn't any talk in the mainstream media about 3i Atlas or it being alien or even all these weather events happening. So what I'm here to say is that 3i Atlas, okay, it is the third interstellar comet that has come from the same sector as the other two interstellar comets have come. And now, every week, they are ramping up the narrative inside the mainstream and in the alternative mainstream now that this is alien, this is acting weird, and everybody's talking about 3i Atlas now, okay? We said this was going to happen 60 to 90 days ago. And so now it's happening, and we have to ask ourselves, we have to work together as a hive community and figure out where this is going. Well, when you look at what New Jerusalem looks like in Revelation, it's the exact same colors as what 3i Atlas is now that the image has come in from the James Webb telescope. So let's plot this out date-wise, where we're at. We have this interstellar comet that a Harvard 700-time peer-reviewed physics professor has said that it looks extraterrestrial. We have a bunch of people now in the alternative mainstream and the mainstream saying that this could be extraterrestrial. And my question is, why would you even say this could be extraterrestrial, right? That seems like a pretty far limb to go out and hang your hat on. So we have this comet coming through. It's going to go around the sun, and when it's supposed to be behind the sun is when we are supposed to have the best view of it. But we're not going to have a view of it because it's behind the sun. So this is breaking. I'm gonna say it right here first. Again, this is a theory, not this is a theory. I think what's going to happen is when we get to the point where it's going behind the sun, which is in October or November, they are going to start changing the narrative about it, saying that it is 100% extraterrestrial. And then once it comes behind the sun, it's going to start coming towards us because it's going to use the sun as a gravitational slingshot. And then the world is going to be an absolute madness. I mean, financial collapse, world nukes are going to go off somewhere, most likely. I'm not sold on that yet. But when that happens, when they put the world in absolute chaos, they are going to prepare our world for war, a real world war.
Well, we remember, I don't know if listeners remember the old radio broadcast back in the day, the War of the Worlds, and people were genuinely scared. They were terrified of this broadcast, which they thought was real. There was reports of people committing suicide, jumping out of buildings, all sorts of stuff. And you mentioned this city of New Jerusalem, and if you do deep research on this, there's a lot of people that believe different things, and the Bible describes this thing basically as a cube, a large golden cube that's just amazing, and it sounds to me almost like a cubical spacecraft. Now, you texted me earlier today and you said, wow, Pastor Paul Begley is talking about this, but we've already done shows on this and stuff, but now people are starting to come out, and I got a clip.
So before you play the clip, we said that the narrative, they're going to control the narrative on that, and in order to do that, they're going to have their alt mainstream media bring in their new narrative because that's what people trust. And when I saw that guy PB, and again, this is just my opinion, when I saw that guy start talking about 3i Atlas and New Jerusalem, my jaw dropped to the floor. I mean, I was just, so we told you this was going to happen, folks. We said that they're going to start covering this more and more and more and more and more. And that's what's happening right now. So we have to watch this narrative very closely and figure out what's biblical and what's not. Because the Bible says that we get a new heaven and a new earth. The Bible says that there is a camp of saints. The Bible says that the enemy is going to gather Gog and Magog to make war with the camp of the saints. That's what the Bible says in Revelations 20.
Well, I'm going to play this clip because I thought this was pretty interesting. This is Pastor Paul Begley. I've been on his show several times and on his conferences and whatnot. Here's Paul Begley and Mike from around the world.
When they're in with a lack of atmosphere and in 0G, they just they really
so
begin
Mike
to drive.
Tries to change the subject.
Very active. And of course, they did this on the ISS, outside the ISS, not even inside the ISS, but outside, right? They also found that certain species of algae starts to grow like crazy, right, in space. So what they were doing was trying to find out are there any of these things that are on Earth that thrive in space? Because if they do, there's a high probability. When you think in those terms, and because we don't know what that thing is, nobody is.
We're talking about Atlas. Here we go.
Not telling it, but this thing is odd. It really is. And if it just so happens to be something else, well, we're going to find out one way or another. We will find out.
This is a weird thing, but Clyde Lewis is, he's got a syndicated radio show. It's about 300 channels. I'm going to be on his show tonight after this show for an hour, from midnight to 1. The reason he asked me to come on is because some of the James Webb satellite pictures of this
your generosity,
Oh, here
your
we go.
kindness.
Oh,
It's
not
more-
this guy.
Here we go.
Liam Nelson coming in.
Or like big rocks in a cube.
A
They're
cube.
positioned in a
A
cube. Now,
cube.
maybe just the angle, James Webb. I'm sure
Are
it's
you
not
serious?
right.
Are you
But he's
serious?
asking, Paul, is the New Jerusalem that's coming out of heaven, is that thing four square? I'm like, yeah, but I
It's
don't.
a cube. What's in space basketball, they have detected few objects. Well, one in particular that they continue to watch it is in fact a cube.
Really?
So, and I think this year alone has been a 600% increase in people who have seen smaller cubes in the atmosphere.
So
So I
this,
can't, I can't
Wow.
say that thing is
So-
what it's not. I can.
So they're speculating on this. That's fascinating. It definitely that piques my interest that other people are talking about this. I guess.
So, Shep, what they're doing, this is straight psychological programming.
Mhm.
What they're doing is they are using 90% truth and 10% deception. He's identifying what's happening and what they're seeing, and they're manipulating it. And I don't know if they're doing this willingly or unwillingly, if they just don't know what they're doing, but they are taking what's been identified and they are warping it into their own narrative. What they have to do is they have to get the 90% of dispensational Christians who believe that Jesus hasn't come back yet, or Jesus didn't do anything he said he was going to do, to those in that he told his disciples these things were going to happen in this generation, the generation he was talking to. He told his disciples that none of the stones in the temple would be left standing, and that the disciples would have to flee to the mountains of Judea and would see the abomination of desolation happening in the temple. And then John the Revelator wrote to the 7 churches of Asia that these things were going to happen quickly and the time would take place. So there's a huge movement right now of Christians that are now believing that Jesus actually did come back. He reigned for the 1,000 years we call the Dark Ages. Now New Jerusalem is coming, and they have to identify it as something that they can bring the world together to go attack. That's what that video is doing. That is the start of it. They start like, they just teach, they just cover it nonchalantly. They give little, they identify it, but then they start to twist the narrative, right? That's what they're doing.
Yeah, I can see that. New Jerusalem Flat Earth commented and says, you guys need to realize that Earth is flat and all of this deception will vanish. So, just a reference to flat Earth. Can you kind of go over how, the Bible talks about the firmament and how there's waters and it's divided, and then, heavens above, and go over the layout of that a little bit?
Sure. Well, let's first talk about the layout of the craft, right? So we're looking at 3i Atlas, and it's shaped, they look at it like a cigar, right? Like this is what 3i Atlas looks like, right? That's what it looks like right now. Well, if you twist it and look at it from the bottom, that is a circle, which is what we're entrained into our minds to be a UFO. So take it for this example. This is the Earth, okay? We live on a flat plane, and then we have a dome on top of it like this, okay?
Mhm.
This is the Earth. The Bible says that the Earth, I can prove it with one scripture. You can look up, open up your Bibles, do a Google search engine, and look at what it says about the Earth being on foundations and that it cannot move. They say we are moving at 66,000 miles per hour around the sun. Okay? But then the Bible says that the earth cannot be moved. Okay? So the earth looks exactly like this with the dome on it. Okay? You have the dome, then you have the firmament over the earth, which is a dome. That's like the glass in a snow globe. Okay? You got the glass over it. And what's funny about that is we actually shoot rockets shaped as penises at the firmament to try to break through it. So then we have the firmament, we have the waters above the firmament, and then we have heaven. And the Bible says that the heavens cover the earth like a tent, overseeing it. And the interesting thing about a tent is that a tent always has flat ground underneath it. So
and
whether you believe in flat earth, I don't know, but here's Comet 3i Atlas. Here's what it actually looks like, okay, from the bottom. And this new earth with New Jerusalem comes onto our earth like this, burns up all the enemies with fire, and that's it. New earth, New Jerusalem. Lucifer's thrown in the lake of fire. But you look at all the NASA. I'm not gonna sell you on if earth is flat or not. By now, it should be obvious to everyone that the earth is flat, okay? All the NASA documents are doctored. They're digitally altered, okay? They're not telling you the truth about what the earth is. They're not telling you the truth about what timeline we're in. They're not telling you the truth about medicine, money, any of it. So what makes you think that they are telling the truth about when Jesus returned, and they are telling the truth about what Comet 3i Atlas, which is the side of a flat earth, actually is?
right. All of this, I got into a flat earth group back in the day, and
freedom.
Freedom. And the mainstream 6 years ago admitted that the moon is inside the Earth's atmosphere. And I found this fascinating because flat earthers claim this forever. And now they basically had to come out. The European Space Agency, all the major mainstream has admitted this. I'm going to play about a 5-minute clip, some of this clip on how the moon is actually inside the Earth's atmosphere. And what that technically means is, like when they've told us they've landed on the moon and sent men to the moon, even if they did that, that means that man has not been to outer space. Man has still only been within the Earth's atmosphere. This will be unbelievable for some people. I'm going to roll the clip.
The moon is a
so far.
The moon is a plate.
And space begins. And your surprise for the day is that according to newly unearthed observations, our atmosphere is way bigger than we ever thought. Like, it goes past the moon. We've mostly defined space as the vast expanse of the rest of the universe that exists past the Kármán line, which exists roughly 100 kilometers above mean sea level. Now, according to the Fédération Aéronautique Internationale, the organization officially in charge of determining these kinds of rules, after the Kármán line, you are in space. The reasoning behind this is after 100 kilometers, the Earth's atmosphere becomes too thin for a conventional aeronautic vehicle like an airplane to stay in flight without reaching orbital velocity. So you have to switch to more specialized astronautic vehicles. But if you thought this was going to be simple, it's not. Even though the FAI's Kármán line designation is commonly recognized, there's actually no official international consensus over where space technically begins. Some astrophysicists say it should actually be 80 kilometers above the mean sea level because of the way the orbital momentum acts on satellite objects. NASA and the US Air Force also define space as starting about 80 kilometers above the Earth's surface, and
satellites are held up by balloons.
Astronauts. Okay, so the definition of space is up in the air, but what even is the atmosphere? Yes, it's the bubble of gases that shield and insulate the Earth from the aggressive radiation of the sun and the cold, dark depths of space. But like most complex things, it's got layers. The troposphere, with all our fun weather and necessary gases for breathing and surviving. The stratosphere, where commercial airlines fly when possible because there's usually less turbulence. The mesosphere, where most meteors burn up and the highest layer at which clouds can form. And then comes the thermosphere, which is where that tricky Kármán line lives. And this is where astronauts begin to experience weightlessness and is where the ISS orbits. That means that technically our most commonly defined line of where space begins is still in Earth's atmosphere. And then finally, there's the exosphere, that final layer between us and outer space, made up of super spaced out hydrogen and helium atoms,
dome.
slowly dissipating out to nothing, up to 200,000 kilometers away from Earth's surface. Or so we thought. We actually haven't previously really known where the exosphere ends and outer space begins. We just know that those extremely sparse gases gradually fade out into a vacuum. But
Okay,
a team
wait,
of astronomers has
wait,
recently dropped a
what?
total bombshell.
Okay,
When the
that's where I got a
What?
problem with NASA.
Are you serious?
How do you fade out into a vacuum? Like if you've got the pressure slowly decreases until ultimately it's a vacuum. A vacuum can't exist unless there's a container. So we have to be in a fully contained and pressurized system. I'm gonna play more of this clip.
gases in the exosphere.
Well, how
reflects
do they light the ignitions with fire when there's no oxygen in space?
Right.
we see
That's
called
true
the
too.
geocorona. These new observations of the geocorona indicate that the exosphere may extend up to 630,000 kilometers away from Earth, a distance that includes the moon. So technically,
Wow.
the moon is in the Earth's atmosphere. This realization is thanks to an instrument called the Solar Wind Anisotropies Instrument, or SWAN. SWAN was able
Okay, so they went in and they discovered that the moon's inside the Earth's atmosphere. The end of the Earth's atmosphere, this so-called, they're basically calling it like a container, an exosphere, but then they're saying it fades out gradually and there's a vacuum. None of what they're saying makes sense, but they basically had to admit, because of the flat earthers, that the moon is in fact inside the Earth's atmosphere.
When you look at this from the standpoint of what the Bible says about what we live on, it is very clear that we live in a dome and that this is not what we've been deceived into thinking. Okay? It's very clear. The heliocentric model of all of this makes no sense. How are we going 66,000 miles per hour around the sun? How did we get through the Van Allen radiation belt in our way to the moon? How is the moon, if I'm at 500 feet above sea level and I move to 1,500 feet above sea level, why does the moon get 100 times bigger? Why can I take one of my telescopes that as part of the Shepard observatory, we'll get into that later, this lens, okay? How do I take this or this one, which has a 250 times zoom? How do I take this and I see the moon right up close when it's supposedly 250,000 miles away? Why can I go to Lake Erie and see Canada across Lake Erie? There would be the curvature of the earth that would stop me, correct?
Yeah, that's the thing. Once you run the calculations and realize that we can't be on a globe or on the what they call the globe model, all of this, like, it breaks their whole paradigm. But like, that's also part of the deception with Satan's season and how these pastors and priests are teaching the Bible and teaching it out like parables, when actually it's just a book of documented history. It's the Word of God. You read it and go through it, and it really actually lines this stuff out. Like, if you go in,
I mean, look, if you believe, you either believe the Bible or you don't, right?
Mhm.
You believe what the Bible says or you just don't believe the Bible. It's like, don't try to take what the Bible says and then interpret it 100 different ways and formulate a narrative against what the Bible actually says. If you believe the Word of God is true, well, then you have to believe it is truth, right?
Absolutely. And that's what I never understood, because literally the first time I picked up the Bible to really read it intensely, I realized that. And I was just reading it word for word, and it made so much sense. And I could see how people get caught up in it, and especially going to church and how they're describing all this stuff. But really, people can just pick it up and read it. I wanted to show a little bit of this flooding that's going on here, because people need to understand some of these events if they're not fully aware of this stuff. There's in Wisconsin, there was massive flooding. They're saying literally, right here's the headline: biblical flooding in Midwest shuts down state fair and leaves residents trapped in homes. And they're saying that flash flooding slammed parts of Wisconsin on Saturday evening, and it forced people to leave the fair, and torrential rain just hammered the Badger State. But they put out images of this. I got a bunch of images on Twitter from not only Wisconsin, but from other parts of the world I wanted to show too real quick, so people can realize what this Planet X, Nibiru, Nemesis star system, the devastation that it's starting to cause. All of this is starting to ramp up. I covered this in my book, in my film. I talked about it. People thought it was a joke, and now it's actually ramping up. On my Twitter feed, the Shepard Ambellas Twitter feed right here. If you go there, you can just see.
Look, that's Shep. That's a very important comment, because you are calling this as it's happening. Not only are you calling it as it's happening right now in real time, but you also wrote a book about it 25 years ago, and they did counter intelligence operations against you, against the narrative of Planet X. So why would people not want to share this with their loved ones?
You're kind of cutting out. You're cutting
Why
out.
would they not want to share this with them? Guys, this is tip of the spear stuff.
Look at this. This is in Japan. So it's like all over the world.
I would encourage all of you to share this broadcast right now and get it with what.
James, you're breaking up right now. You might need to establish a better connection. But yeah, this worldwide flooding, they're saying biblical flooding in Wisconsin. And of course, people are trying to find out, like, what is this? A lot of people are saying, oh, it's weather weapons. It's global warming. It's, humans cause this. But the bottom line is it's happening, and people are talking about it. Guys, don't forget to follow the Skysweeper YouTube channel. It's at Skysweeper Live, youtube.com/at Skysweeper Live, all one word. And that's where we're going to be doing some of this stuff with the telescope and whatnot.
Well, yeah, Shep, this is what Planet X does. What do you think caused the events in Revelations? It was Planet X. So now it's coming back again, causing all these earth change events, but they're trying to mitigate the events and also blame it on global warming. It's coming back again. This is nothing new. So guys, if you follow along with this, go back and look at some of Shepard's old videos. We have called this to a T. We are calling things 3 months before the mainstream media or the alternative mainstream media's narrative comes out. Please, I'm just telling you, right, you can do whatever you want, but share this broadcast with a friend, post it on a Facebook group, post it in your Bible study group, put it on Discord, put it on your Instagram story, put it on your TikTok, or TikTok, share this broadcast, because we are laying out this narrative before theirs gets out, okay? And they're going to do some pretty awful things, which we'll get into, to make you believe their narrative or participate in it. Shep called this 25 years ago. We just met a little while ago, and you have two people, both with zero financial incentives to do this, coming together to get this information out. This is what journalism is, and Shepard's a true journalist.
I appreciate that. I got open call lines, and just want to throw that out there. That way, if people want to get in on the conversation, they can call in. The number's on the screen: 866-509-7437. 866-509-7437. Where do you think we should go now, James, with this? Because people want to know more about this. They also want to know what we plan on doing with the telescope and stuff like that. Some of the plans.
Okay, great question. And I encourage people that are kind of skeptical about this or have any questions, just to call in to the Shepard and Ambellas show right now, and we can talk about it. But okay, let's talk about Shep. Okay, S.H.E.P, the Shep Observatory, and we're naming it Shep because I have to give Shepard and Ambellas credit for being the first one to cover this, being a independent journalist that didn't take huge handouts of money, which he won't tell you because he's humble, but he was offered some pretty eccentric things to come on and be a part of the new alternative mainstream media. So we are setting up the Shep Observatory, and this will be live starting second week of September. And we are going to track everything that's going on in the skies, okay? We're not just going to sit here and tell you, we're going to let your eyes see it. So, I mean, these things are heavy, they're huge, but again, these are the secondary telescopes to the Shep Observatory. So we're going to show you and let you see for your own eyes what is happening. So there will be no excuse, okay? We are going to show this thing starting mid-September all the way through the time it goes across the back of the sun. We're going to show it. So we're going to put up a 24. This is no charge to you, okay? There's not going to be a subscription. There's not going to be anything like that. There's only going to be, if you want to throw $1 or $2 to donate to Shep, because he doesn't have contracts with drug companies or, automobile companies or Ben and Jerry's. He's doing this on his own dime. We're doing this on our own dime. So we are setting up an amazing amateur observatory, and we're going to cover it 24/7. We're going to have telescopes putting in different directions. I'm dumping $100,000 on this thing just to make sure it's up, ready to go, and we're going to watch this the whole time until it gets shut down. That's what we're going to do. We're investing in it.
The technology that you're getting, James, this new portable technology that they have, the telescopes, it's essentially as good as what NASA had for quite a while. I mean, the technology's come a long ways. I opened up the phone lines. We got a caller. Caller, you're on the air. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey, Kevin, how's it going, brother?
It's going good. I can't wait until this is up and running.
Oh, dude, me either. I mean, I had a little telescope when I was a kid, nothing like any of this stuff, and it was always amazing to play with and look at and whatnot. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be awesome, man. What do you think about Paul Bagley talking about that cube, the comet possibly being a cube, this interstellar object, and that as well.
Well, I think what we've been talking about for the last few months, people are picking up on.
James, can you hear Kevin at all?
I sure can. Hey, Kevin.
Good. Okay. So that's all
What's up,
working.
James?
Hey, thanks for calling in to test the phones, man. What have you been up to, man? We haven't had phone lines on the show for a while. Like, can you give us a rundown of what's been going through your mind, just even as a listener of this show and some of the topics we've been covering?
Well, the weather's off the chain. We already know that worldwide they're using global warming as like the cover for it. But we know that ain't true. There's something that's getting ready to bust out in the middle of the ocean that looks like a pimple.
Oh, yeah.
Everything is so high at the stores that they're going to start noticing it.
Prices, you're saying.
If they haven't already.
Right. The prices.
Yeah, I mean, I think Walmart just came out and said that we should expect their items to increase on essential items by 30%. This is what's going on. They are going to have us so distracted as this stuff is happening that you are going to just cling to whatever the narrative is and whoever can provide you peace and safety. And then they're using Revelation, which the seals, trumpets, bowls, all that stuff happened at the last passing of Planet X before the end of the millennial reign passing of Planet X. They're using that as a script because they know essentially that this planet pretty much does the same thing every time. And it's not, Planet X is New Earth, in my opinion, okay, folks? And so I just kind of look at this as how it's going to go down, as I would rather invest a lot of my money into the Shepard and Ambellas audience and Shep and Kevin and just see this for ourselves, so there's no excuse, because everybody listening right now will have a choice to make. They will have a choice whether they share this information with others or whether they don't. And at some point, it's going to come across your mind like, hey, maybe I should share this with that person. Maybe I can get over the stigma of it. Maybe I can actually, help others with understanding this. And it's going to come to a point when you're listening to this broadcast where that feeling's going to hit you. So what I want to do is I want to make sure we have enough evidence using all these telescopes to show you with your own eyes. So when you share it and people see it with their own eyes, they don't think you're some crack or whatever, right? I mean, we've been calling this for 90 days. It's ramping up. It keeps ramping up. It's happening. So we are just going to keep proving this until it becomes irrefutable evidence of what we're saying is happening.
Well, and another element of this too, and maybe Kevin wants to chime in on this if he's still with us. What Donald Trump's been doing, the executive orders that have been put in place. Now he's talking about federalizing DC, and a federal takeover of DC. That's a way for them to worm their way into other areas, and basically get like troops on the street, martial law, keeping us maybe in a form of silent martial law. These tariffs are now kicking in. I mean, it really looks like things are getting strange. I mean, it's literally like a movie unfolding before our eyes.
Well, remember, Shep, Lucifer was in the abyss for 1,000 years, and he had 1,000 years to come up with this script. And what they do is they give you all these TV shows and movies that are a script, so they get your subconscious used to following a script. This 100% seems like a script, does it not?
Oh yeah. Sometimes I feel like the WWE is scripting all this or something. I mean, it's literally like a playwright or something. But in a way too, it's like they have it all figured out. Like it kind of makes sense. You know,
Well, they do, because they know how the movie ends. They know how
yeah,
the movie ends.
right.
And 1,000 years to
Right.
come up with this. And then what they do, listen, AI, okay, is
Mhm.
far more advanced than any one of us think. They've been tracking data, what we've put into Facebook and MySpace and Instagram and X and all of them, what our Google searches. They've been tracking that information, taking that data and creating real world simulations with it to understand what we will do when the next part of their script goes into play. Why do you think Facebook's question says what's on your mind? They want to know what's on your mind so they can categorize you, plug it into their real world simulation, and figure out how the public is going to respond. That's part of why we went through 2019.
Wow. Yeah. You know, V2K, brainwave altering and reading technology. Robert G. Malik has patents for this. They've come out. And then Elon Musk, his Neuralink. But it said that some of these other companies can get into your brain without actually going in and doing surgery or real intrusive surgery. They want to ultimately link us. They got Palantir. RFK came out and said he wants wearables on everyone. They recently did the COVID vaccines. People were saying there's nanobots and all these tracking systems in that. You made a point one time, the 6-foot rule during the pandemic was a great way to separate everyone so that they could lock their tracking systems on to everyone after they've been vaccinated. I've seen some of these systems in real time. It really looks like they're tracking people that have been vaccinated, and obviously they got some kind of frequency in them, some kind of something going that links them up to the internet now with this graphene and all this stuff. Also, people in the alternative media pushing graphene. I found that crazy. And we're finding this in our drinks now. And luciferase, that substance that glows, it's basically found in jellyfish. And then they have these purple lights on the highways now. And it makes you wonder, what do they got going? Are they going to look for like how people glow certain ways, or who's vaccinated, who's not? And does this also, they had these forced vaccinations, and I've always heard that comets and like wormwood, different stories from the Bible or from the history, when they talk about comets, they talk about how it brings of sickness and death and disease and famine. Could the COVID vaccine have been something that's going to protect us against something they already took a sample of, or people from these place already told our government about this, so they were able to formulate some type of sample?
Look, I think the disease that happened in 2019, obviously we know it was man-made because of the narrative that came out of the Wuhan lab, and also that we transferred it from the US to the Wuhan. That's all in the investigation into Dr. Fauci and everything. So Shep, everything you're saying is 100%. I think it was a multi-pronged approach to do a couple things. One, put in a 2-stage weapon through those needles, and also to figure out how the public was going to respond when the next worldly event happens. That was, I don't think I know a lot of people understand, but I just want to reemphasize this. the gravity of what happened during that time.
Yeah.
The entire world all responded to something in unity. That's the data point they wanted. So when this extraterrestrial event happens, they are going to categorize it in this way. They're going to say, okay, are you with the world or are you with the invading forces? They're going to start saying that aliens are already here and that they're walking around among us. And then people are going to start thinking, wow, this guy doesn't want to fight the aliens. He must be an alien. Maybe, he's not with us at all. And then you're going to be labeled a terrorist. Okay? That's just a theory. I'm not saying that will actually happen, but it would certainly be a good way to distinguish who doesn't want to attack King Jesus and who does.
Speaking of theories, here's kind of a funny one. I kind of got an echo on you. They have this show called Alien Nation. It's a movie, and there's these newcomers. They come down to Los Angeles, and they get quarantined, right? And after a certain amount of time, the government rules that they can live with the population. And I thought it was interesting how ICE is taking Mexicans and stuff out of Los Angeles. Primarily, and are they making room for these newcomers? Wouldn't that be comical almost?
I mean, we're gonna see it, right? It's not a coincidence that Congress started talking about aliens and that we had all these drones going overhead and everything. That was a test run that was used for conditioning. It's no coincidence. Yeah. They want to push this narrative. Why do you think every single 7 out of 10 movies, the top grossing movies, are about aliens? Even the kids' movies are about aliens. They are pre-programming this. So when it happens, they have a certain amount of people who are deceived, and the deceived are deceived through sin, okay? If you love your sin, you're probably going to be deceived through this. But they will be deceived into pushing this narrative, and then that the people that don't want to do this, okay, because they understand what it is, they are going to be treated as terrorists. This is the FEMA camps. This is the red list, blue list. This is everything that we've been told, and they've been using the cover as a new world order to do it. They put that narrative out. They put it out so that people would think it was that, when really in the background, all the operations are being used for the return, for their arrival of New Earth and New Jerusalem. Okay, that's why they did all this stuff. That's why Alex Jones is so promoted, in my opinion. It's because the New World Order is a distraction. Okay, this is all about the aliens and us being deceived, the church, the earthly church, the buildings, those people being deceived into thinking that Jesus already came back. That's what the entire operation was for. That's why they put out the New World Order. That's why they made it look like a clandestine operation, or made it look like it was shadow. They wanted to do that so they could install this. And the time is short, so they accomplished it. Mission accomplished. They have everything in place. Everything.
It's weird when they put in place the Greada Treaty back in the Eisenhower times, and they supposedly had meetings with aliens and they started building Area 51. There was recently a whistleblower came out and said that a lot of this would come out in 2025 or 2026. I think they said 2025. And that's a certain amount of years, like 75 years past the Roswell date or something like that. And people were speculating it's some type of disclosure period, like they could hold on to the information for a certain amount of time or whatever. But whatever the case, it looks ultimately like they know that people are starting to see these objects. They're starting to see unidentified flying objects or UAPs or orbs, and things are getting like really strange on that level. Like you can turn on YouTube and TikTok and all this stuff, and a lot of these videos, they don't look AI generated or anything,
No,
and
they're
it looks
real.
like just
They're
all this
real.
activities. Yeah,
They're real. And I
yeah,
tell you what,
activity
we've had the
everywhere.
technology. We've had the technology for a long time, and it has been prepared and perfected down in Antarctica, and they are going to launch something that's fake. Okay, it's not fake in the sense that the objects aren't real. The objects are
Yeah,
real. It's not fake. It's just the narrative of what they say is real is fake. And
to
this
put
is
people
war.
behind it.
War is deception. Okay? And this is the biggest war that this earth will ever see in its life. That's why all the movies are about saving the world, aliens, mothership, all like the large majority of them are. So we are entering into a time where, yeah, a lot of people are going to see UFOs. I saw one last night. I said, in the name of Jesus, I command you to get away from me. Don't touch me in the name of Jesus. Because, guys, let me make something real clear here. Jesus, there's so much power in that name. Jesus has all authority under heaven and over earth. Okay? It says that in the Bible. Jesus, when he died on the cross and he rose again to save us from our sins, he claimed that authority away from the enemy, because in the Bible, Lucifer took him out in the desert after he had fasted for 40 days and he tempted him. And one of the things Lucifer said is he took him up to a high mountain. He said, I will give you all this if you bow down and worship me. Okay? So clearly, Lucifer had some sort of authority over the earth. But when Jesus died and he rose again, he proclaimed Jesus has all authority. And he holds the keys to death and Hades. He said on the cross, it is finished. So if you guys ever see one of these things, which the probability of you seeing one, especially if you're alone in a field or walking around alone at night on a walk, the probability is pretty high right now because a lot of people are seeing them. If you get scared, you call out to Jesus. Amen.
Yeah, I saw one the other night, probably like a week or two ago, and it was like lower than a airplane height, but not as high as satellite. And I mean, I could see like a little bit of detail on it. It was pretty weird. So apparently they're like pretty much everywhere. If I could just go out and see one now, so people
it's
should
part
look
of the narrative.
up.
It's part of the
remember
narrative.
that film? Yeah, the film Don't Look Up. That's like part of the narrative too, because literally they're like coming out and saying like "Don't look up" in this film.
What's that going to make people want to do?
Look up, I guess.
I don't know. I mean, what's that going to?
Unless they. Well, I'm just wondering, like how deep the programming goes, right? Either it's going to make them look up, or like their programming so deep it's going to stop them from looking up. But I mean, either way, it seems really suspicious.
So I think they want this stuff to be seen, because why would they make them light up? Like, if you didn't want them to be seen, right? Like, if you're in a military operation and you're flying helicopters or stealth planes, there's no lights on the bottom. They put lights on things to make them see them. So what I think they've done is I think they've created thousands of these drones, and they're systematically putting them over each state so people can see them. They can't explain it because this technology is more advanced than anything we've ever been told that we have. And they're making them do like crazy G movements. There's no pilot in them, but they figure if enough people see this thing, that there's first-hand eyewitness accounts all over the United States or all over the world, well, then when they say the big one, okay, when they say there's an alien mothership coming to attack Earth, they'll believe it because they've already seen it with their own eyes. It's deception,
Oh,
folks.
man. Yeah, that's such a good point. I think that people, well, and all the films, everything, so they're ready. People are going to be ready. So, like, what do you ultimately think that's going to do for people, though? Like, are they going to cower down in fear? Are they going to get behind the narrative that, like, the government's pumping? Like, what do you think people's actual reaction will be? You know, if they tell them, oh, they got to join the fight against these aliens, or like, you know, is this just going to be like super terrifying to people and they want to instill that fear in them, or do you think they actually want to get them behind?
I think at first, the way that your brain functions on a first impression is different in different scenarios, right? So if you're under shock and awe at the first instance of something, which is, we can go back to 2019, you saw, like, on CNN, you saw these, like, Chinese people laying in the street dead. People were spraying around with mosquito sprayers and stuff. It created a fear. And when people respond in fear and emotion, they can't make logical decisions. So I think that's how it's going to start during the primary phase of pushing what the narrative is. That's how it's going to be. Then they're going to move it into a more patriotic environment where you're saying, like, oh, we're going to defend the world. You're going to feel some pride about it. Nobody's going to come attack our Earth. And then there's going to be, again, this is my opinion, then there's going to be such a large event where people are killed. I mean, we're talking major cities just wiped, okay? Where we're going to look at it like we have to go to war. That's how every single war the United States have ever been in. There's been a casualty event, fear, shock, and awe, and then a response. And I think that's how they're going to do this. It's going to be very, very patriotic to go fight an invading force from another world. And we're going to have some help with it too. We're going to have some help on our side, which I'm not really ready to get into.
You know, that's Ronald Reagan said how everyone would come together if this happened, essentially. So obviously, I think they were telling him about it back then and actually wanted him to make that speech, to basically foreshadowing this. Even maybe they'll even reference that on the news in the coming days or something, you know, as this develops. But Ronald Reagan out there, kind of like a front runner for this, I guess, message that they're going to push, and tying into all the continuity of government and everything, and how they plan to mitigate this whole thing. I guess it even ties into the Deagle report, population loss around this time and stuff like that. So
yeah,
it goes deep.
Shep, it is the bottom of the rabbit hole. With all the research you've done and all the other people who are true independent journalists, it's the bottom of the rabbit hole. And I just want to reiterate to your followers and the viewers, you're not paying any money for this information. This is true investigational journalism. Like, we're not holding some conference where you have to pay $100. We're not doing some subscription for this. We're not doing, you know, donate this much and you get this much. This is a broadcast and an operation that purely relies on donations to Shepard and Ambellas. This observatory, Shep Observatory, is serious stuff. Like, I am investing a lot of money into this. I'm investing into the Shepard and Ambellas audience because I believe if anybody can figure this out and take this to the next level, that the people of the Shepard and Ambellas audience, including myself, they're the ones that can do this. That's why we are building this observer. This is serious. Like, I just want to reemphasize, this is serious stuff. Like, this
That's
is
not
a
a toy.
200. Yeah, no, look, I mean, think of how big look at this thing. This thing's wider than my head, or around the size of it.
Wow.
Like, this is
Yeah.
serious stuff, and that's not even the primary telescope. These are secondary telescopes where we can be watching different things at once. We're going to have Shep may have an open format where you come in, you say, hey, look at this. We will adjust the telescopes that way and record it.
This is going
We're
to be
investing in it.
fascinating. I mean, people are really going to be able to see, because we can't trust the pictures that NASA's given us. We can't, and a lot of people don't have any independent way to get pictures of these, of any of this activity or anything. And you were saying that, there might not even be as many astronomers as people think, because there's a lot to all this stuff. And how many people.
This is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
I look, I own a pretty successful company, and I was taught a lot of things by people much smarter than me, and this is very difficult to set this up in a manner where you're recording accurate information, or a manner where it's ready for a public audience to view it. This is tough to do. I mean, I was on the phone with you. Remember that? I was like, all these cables going. Like, this is. I realized when I was on the phone with you, I was like, this is going to take a lot more work than you think. Like, this is incredibly complex stuff, but we're going to do it because we said we're going to do it.
Guys, don't forget to follow this YouTube channel, youtube.com/@SkySweeperLive, all one word, @SkySweeperLive. Here's the official logo on the screen of the channel. So yeah, I mean, this is a one of a kind opportunity, really. And we're not going to get the information secondhand or anything like that. We could confirm with our own eyes, hopefully. And just also, as things ramp up, if it turns out there's big spaceships up in the atmosphere, in the sky, we can hopefully get close-ups of stuff like that. People are seeing all sorts of things right now. They're talking about going back to the moon.
Well, they want people to start thinking about space again. That's what they want. So, look, this is information that I share with my family, and I have had a very big attack on me from my friends, family, 90 days ago when I told them what was going to start happening, and now they see it's happening. And I just want to make a promise to you guys, to myself and Shep, that we are not going to doctor any of this footage. We are going to show exactly what's going on all of the time. This is going to be a 24/7 hour feed. I have no incentive to do this but exposing the truth. I am a born-again Christian. I was saved 10 years ago when I was recovering from alcoholism. I had 15 DUIs. I was on a jail cell floor. I got on my knees and I turned my will over to God. And then I was baptized, born again. I repented of my sins, and the Lord blessed my life and gave me the desires of my heart. And now I'm doing this because I feel like it's the right thing to do. And I feel like it's going to be pretty awesome to actually have like a community that controls an observatory. What's cooler than that?
There's really nothing cooler than that. And I mean, I'm sure like even people that aren't familiar with space and stuff, this is going to give them like a whole new thing to get fired up about, especially when they start seeing this new channel go live and people start finding out about it. I just can't wait. I mean, this is like several months, away, in which we can maybe start viewing this thing or whatever. And then it's going to go behind the sun and maybe pop out on the other side. And then we don't even know what it's going to do. But
and then Shepard, I just wanted to say one more thing about the credibility and integrity of this. I do not have an active YouTube channel. I do not have a platform where I'm bringing this information out. The reason I'm doing it that way is to keep the credibility, is to keep the truthfulness of this, so I am not co-opted by anyone or anything to bring this information out in a way that's not truthful. And I pray that
right.
any weapon formed against this shall not prosper in Jesus' name.
Absolutely. Well, your intent on getting the final product, finding out, the real truth about this, and getting these images and stuff, and video too. So I believe that it captures video, the telescope. So we'll get to see what's going on.
I mean, we're gonna see some cool stuff, man. Like last night, I watched it.
Well, tell us, because you were looking at the planets, and also the first time you kind of looked at the moon happened to be a special event was going on, which kind of tripped you out. Something you saw.
Yeah, there was something called my neighbor came over and we were looking at the moon, and there was something called like a golden handle that appeared on the side of the moon. And again, this isn't something that people do. Like, you can't find a telescope primarily in major box stores. Like, this isn't stuff you got to search for this stuff, and a lot of it's really expensive. Like, the best brand new, like, high quality telescope you can get is around $3,000, and it's like, who has $3,000 right now in this economy to buy something like that?
Right.
So I saw the golden handle on the moon, and then the day after, I saw 3 more golden handles around it, and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Where are these golden handles coming from? And then I thought, maybe, what if this is an eclipse behind the moon? And then last night I was out there, and I'm doing these are test runs for the stream, and I saw a 6-planet alignment last night. I saw a UFO. Okay, it just is what it is. And I captured a really cool picture of Saturn. And so in order for me to give the best content possible and to track this 3-eye atlas properly when these events take place, I really need to know what I'm doing. So I'm practicing right now. And some of these things I've seen, guys, it's so cool. It's so cool.
Yeah, I can only imagine, what goes into that, especially like the tracking elements of that and learning all that and how it works. That's a lot. I'm the type of guy, I don't even like to read instruction manuals. So that, seems like a lot to deal with, but, I mean, it's gonna be worth it. This is science.
This is a huge event. This is
in real life. Yeah.
This is a huge event. I mean, the majority of the population aren't going to understand the gravity of this until the alternative mainstream starts putting the script out. This is a huge event, and it has started small, and it's ramping up just like something else that happened. This is a huge event, and my fear here is that everybody has been lied to so long that they believe that none of this is going to happen.
Yeah.
When in all actual reality, this is like the main event. And it's
the boy that cried wolf, right? Like they keep putting out these, the boy, and this Atlas thing could even be that, it could just come and they could be like, it's a comet. And here's the images, and it really could be. And then they had everyone put that out in the alternative media as another ruse for like 1 year down the road when Planet X arrives or something. So, this could go any way right now. But regardless, it looks like something big's coming down the pipe. And
Shep, how do you think it's going to play by
23? So.
Play by play? How do you see it's see it happening. So again,
Well,
guys, we're not prophets, studying stuff, and then I'll go into what I think.
Well, I think that Donald Trump's positioning right now with a lot of executive orders, signing more historically than anyone, I think, pretty much. These are setting up for an authoritarian type control structure, and it's obvious how they're pigeonholing people with these tariffs, the higher prices, and then they're going to use inflation as an excuse. And they've got it to where if you go homeless, they can put you in a camp. So as soon as you're found outside, basically with in a curfew zone or whatever, or don't go along with their program, they're going to round you up. And part of that is they have to have a mechanism like that in play because there's going to be rioting, looting. We talked previously several months back about
Already happening. It's already happening.
And when the shelves start getting empty,
They lock up the cocoa butter in CVS now downtown.
Exactly. That's the thing. They're doing a slow, controlled shutdown. So right now they're locking stuff up, but ultimately these things are going to go missing off the shelves. And as it goes missing, people will go out and they'll get apprehended. And I think that's how they're going to kind of work people into this. At the same time, they're going to be dealing with anxiety, fear, lots of psyops. Is it weather weapons? They're going to be thinking about weather. Is it Planet X? Is it, is it a pole shift? They're not going to realize what's creating all this ultimately.
Wait till people who are on mental health drugs, they can't get those mental health drugs anymore. Wait till the full effect of being off of that happens.
Oh, wow. That's scary. I didn't even think about that. And
go ahead. Sorry,
I think it's going to just, I don't know. It seems like a perfect storm waiting to happen. I think we're going to see all of it, like all those disaster movies mixed with aliens, mixed with anything you can think of. And, Planet X, Melancholia, volcanoes, all these volcano disaster movies, earthquakes, all this stuff's already starting to happen. They even had an earthquake today that was fairly good size.
Well, that's what's crazy about it, Shep. It is already happening.
Yeah.
It's absolutely already happening.
It's just going to intensify is what I'm saying, basically. Yeah, it's already happening, and it's going to intensify. And if people go back to my film, Shackled to Silence, we had Eric Briggs on there talking about how all the earthquakes would intensify, all the volcanoes would intensify. And now we're seeing those levels that he was talking about. He was saying earthquakes greater than 7 and 8 magnitude, and we've already seen an 8.8 in Russia. So, this is happening.
I mean, all the zombie movies that came out and the zombie shows, all that's doing is it just is representing a population that's off of their mental health drugs in one camp, and then the other camp, people looking for food. That's what those zombies are. Like, it's desensitizing us to live in an environment where people are just attacking and only thinking with carnal instincts. Like, why do you think they try to make it so comfortable for us? They make it so comfortable that when you remove a part of that comfortability, you go bananas. I mean, even seeing people in the supermarket, like when somebody's taking too long at a register because you've inconvenienced them, they start going crazy. Look at the road rage. Think of what's going to happen when there's no food in the guy's fridge. What extent?
That's the thing that happens quick. People, they start starving and they get crazy real quick.
All right, Chef, we got a lot of women in the comments hitting on us down there. So I just want for the record, I am married. So, but Chef, they say you're real handsome down there in the comments. It's all humor factor, but it is going to be. I think you're exactly right. It is going to be absolute chaos. Like, and then think about it. This is opinion. This 3i Atlas doesn't come around the sun at the time it was supposed to come. And then they all say that, hey, this is extraterrestrial. in the look, we're in a depression right now. The cost
Yeah.
of goods compared to income is a greater delta than during the Great Depression. We're in a depression. So everybody is all panicked out about finances and being in debt and not being able to find enough food. And then they come in and say, oh yeah, there's an inbound alien force. Think of what that does to somebody's psyche, Shep.
Yeah. Well, I think that it will just turn people. Some people will probably just fall down to their knees right there on site. As this stuff really starts happening and whatnot. But it's just fascinating. It's an open investigation. We're moving into this new time. Times have never been more exciting, but they've also never been more scary in a way. And a lot of people are just trying to live their daily lives and ignore this. They're actually going into this mode where they're trying not to like hear what's going on and stuff, and just trying to get like immersed in their daily lives. And also part of that is the price is going up and everything, so no one has time to do anything.
They don't even want to talk about it because they think if they talk about it, it becomes real.
Yeah, well, and the information's bombarding people from every angle and stuff. So, but I don't know. I'm just excited for this open investigation, see what takes place as we go. But also like Trump's next moves, the Pentagon, them talking about like federalizing DC. And then it's like, okay, once they do something like that, it'll be the next city, the next city.
That was, I know, like, okay, I just want to say, I know it sounds like I'm interrupting Shepard, but Shep has so much information that you really have to unpack like every 60 seconds of what he says in order to fully like understand it. So when they talk about federalizing DC, I think that was always the plan. And I think that's been the plan from the beginning with all this crime in all these major cities. It's not that we need more laws or more police officers. We just have to enforce the laws. And so if they can have federal oversight of all the major cities, that makes them a lot easier to control in an extraterrestrial event. But go ahead.
It's kind of like Demolition Man. And we're seeing also the shutdown of all these fast food places getting ready to go under, some in bankruptcy and stuff.
Burger King smoked, man.
Oh man, it's bad. And they even talked about this on Demolition Man. They said that Taco Bell survived the food war on that movie with Wesley Snipes back in the day. And so that was kind of in there. So it's weird because we had They Live, which the elite said they would have control of the world by 2025. And that's the alien movie where Rowdy Piper puts on the glasses.
Do you have that clip? Do you have that clip?
Not on me. I could try to pull it up. And I mean, 2025. Okay, yeah. Terminator Skynet 2025, I think, was the date on that. They Live. Demolition Man talking about the Taco Bell food wars. There's just so many movies that tie into this time frame that it really seems like they knew this was coming the whole time, which makes sense. That's why they had Rex 84. That's why Ronald Reagan talked about the aliens. That's why they had Oliver North building these camps. They got Alligator Alcatraz. They got $170 billion in funding for this.
They had all those coffins.
Yeah, the coffin. So it's total preparation for this. And now it's just like, I feel like we're just like waiting there, waiting for like the first big event to kick off or something to let us know. But
I think the big event that kicks off here, I'm gonna say this again, it's just my opinion, but I think it will happen in the Trump administration. I'm not necessarily sure that Trump will be in power when this. I think he's the one that's supposed to do the reveal right?
Yeah.
Like he's the one that, and I think he's being set up to be the fall guy because he's got to be the most popular president that's ever existed, man. I mean, people paint their whole truck the color of Trump. I mean, his name's everywhere. He has all this, it's all that. He's eccentric and he gets so much publicity because of all the crazy stuff and that he says. I mean, look, I wanted Trump as president. I'll just say it. But
Yeah.
I just think he's the perfect one to where he has so much attention on him that he's primarily going to be the fall guy because everything he's doing from an economic standpoint doesn't make sense. And it makes sense that his name is Trump, right? The trumpet before on arrival. And I just said that in an opinion. It's just what I think. But I think this is going to keep ramping up. We have that Stephen Greer guy that came out saying it was happening this year. And then you have all the new mainstream media, which is the thousands of alternative media people. They're all coming out and putting their chips that this comet is alien. And why would they destroy their platforms by saying something that's untrue with something as big as that?
Yeah, it makes you wonder. I guess we'll just have to, see how it goes because, like, it could go like several different ways. Definitely, it could be real aliens. It could be New Jerusalem. It could be Planet X, or it could be a comet, and then they can use that so many different ways, against the population. But I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. If a giant cube shows up and starts hovering in our atmosphere or something, that's going to be like pretty crazy. They're saying that thing's like up to 1,500 miles across. People that.
Well, I think what they're showing us, I think what they're showing us through the James Webb Telescope and these other telescopes, I think it's real. Okay, I think it's real.
I do too.
But they're showing it to us in a manner where it's farther away than we actually think. And then they're going to set this whole narrative, and then we're going to probably end up going to attack it, in my opinion. So they're definitely setting a narrative right now, and you can just feel it in the air. You know what I mean? Like you can, things just haven't been right since 2019. Like you can feel it.
I definitely do. But then at the same time, I notice a lot of people are just ignoring all this. I don't know if that's like a fear thing or if they're, if they're trying to bury it.
That's the X factor because we know that the people followed the lockdowns, right? So at what point do we get to that the majority of the population, which is, 70%, of the people that just don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
At what point, what has to happen to get them actively involved in the action items of the narrative? What do you think that's going to be? Is it going to be financial? Is it going to be, extraterrestrial? Is it going to be war? I just don't know, like, what is going to, or do they just keep doing it until that percentage dwindles down?
Yeah. Well, and then they have the whole thing on the Gaza Strip, and it makes you wonder what Israel's positioning for and all this stuff. Does that tie into this? How Trump's going to meet Putin this weekend, and they're supposed to do a ceasefire on the Ukraine, and I don't know. But I guess it's going to make for an interesting, next few months here.
I mean, this is the most fascinating time to live in too, and to go back on the Book of Revelation and the belief that Jesus did what he said he was going to do. He's not a liar, and he returned in the disciples' generation. You guys got to understand that there is so much deception happening right now that whatever they're doing, it is all in preparation for Gog and Magog to attack the camp of the saints. And if you look into it a little bit further, it seems that the biggest, at least in America, the biggest section of people that they have to move to the narrative to go attack this three-eye atlas thing
Uh,
is the Christians. So whatever narrative they're pushing, it is going to be intense on the Christians. Intense,
Well,
man.
the crazy thing is during COVID, how they started running the narrative like you can't gather at church. You know, that was a red flag right there.
But you could do it in a
Because,
strip club.
well, yeah, and you know what's a red flag about that is because Christians were searching out. This made the news. They were searching out like Blood Moon, Planet X, like all this stuff. You know, they were wondering. They were trying to like figure out like what's going on and stuff, and because there was like a blood moon, and I don't know. It's like if it's like this, they're trying to just keep that all closed up so that nothing comes out. Because as soon as the word gets out in like that community, people start going to church. They can easily spread this word and it can go around. So obviously they don't want people to find out about this, and they want them to think that we're in a different time to top it off, which is, you know, part of the deception. I guess that goes back to Satan and the 1,000 years. You know, if he truly had 1,000 years to plan this, obviously it's going to be a fairly elaborate plan. We also talked about how some of these Anunnaki are said to have long lifespans, and then some of these kings on the Sumerians' kings list, as time went on, started living shorter and shorter lives, and now we see human lifespans shorter. There was giants on the planet back in the day. Now that's all been hidden. The Tartaria, the Golden Age, the mud flood. I was watching something the other day, and they were just digging these windows out that were buried from the mud flood on this building. And, you know, a lot of people not putting two and two together, but there's just way more to our history than we've been told. And I think they're scared of that coming out too, because like once the dam breaks, essentially the proverbial dam, it's all just going to trickle in and like flood people. So there can almost be like a mass awakening or like a shift in
Well, I mean, look at
consciousness.
these buildings. I mean, you go in and look at the state capitol buildings and tell me that those were built in the 17 and 1800s by a newly founded
no
country
way.
that didn't have taxes, that were riding around in horse and buggy, that had populations of 500 to 1,000. Tell me
They're
these could
milling all this perfect stones, building statues that are perfectly sculpted, just putting this stuff up in perfect order. We got horse and
Can you
buggy.
pull up the Iowa State Capitol building? Like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna say something while I do it. If you could pull it up, that'd be really cool. We need to get somebody in here. Maybe I'll grab one of my employees and have them just run the TV thing while we do this. But look, the Freemasons, they're called Freemasons because they literally found Freemasonry that was left over from the building of the saints during the millennial kingdom, the 1,000-year reign of Jesus. They built these things. And when they found them, it was Freemasonry to them. And then we've been conditioned to think founding means building something. No, it's found. They found it. So we talk about like these buildings have like plaques on them, founded in 1861, founded in 1821. It's because they were founded. Like that image right there, you're telling me that was built by this is the state capital of Iowa. You're telling me that this was built by people in a country that wanted extremely small government, that were not being taxed, didn't have power tools, and were riding around in horse and buggy. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, there's no way. There's no way. Construction has went downhill over the years too. That's another thing. Like in the U.S., they're building houses out of plywood. They throw in some fiberglass insulation, and they act like that's going to keep it warm or cold. And they got shingles on the roof, some plywood. Basically, solar radiation is just coming right through the plywood of your house. There's no protection. There's no storm protection. Tornadoes go through and just tear houses apart. Like, we're not doing anything great. Like, people think there's great construction in the U.S. Everything's just diminished. And then the quality of that type of constructions even went downhill over the years. So it makes no sense that they were building bigger and better, more grand, just intricate styles that we don't even see. Nowadays we just have to build brutalistic structures. All the modern buildings are just brutalistic, square, futuristic. There's just no style. There's no
Well, remember the time they were living in too. Like, where would they find the time to build this stuff? Again, the government wasn't taxing people. How could they afford it? And also, just talking about the time of these people's daily lives, there was no supermarket that they could go to get food. Okay, their food came from what they were growing. Okay, how did they find the time to build this stuff without any labor that was being paid? How?
Right. And they even built canal systems, water systems, waterway, just stuff that would just take so much manpower and planning. All of these canals and tunnels. There was even tunnels, subways. It goes on and on.
It just makes there's cities buried under cities. It's like, why did these subway systems exist already? Like, the tunnels of these subway systems exist already when these cities were, what was the point of them? What was the point of all these underground cables being everywhere? Why on basically every city you can dig down and find clay piping that's hundreds and hundreds of years old?
Well, another strange thing I was thinking about too is how Donald Trump is related to Tesla's he has all of Tesla's files now and stuff, I heard, and all this stuff. So that all came, like, Tesla was basically reverse engineering a lot of this technology. The fact that Donald Trump has those files, and then all of this stuff is kind of coming full circle.
These people had free electricity. These buildings, and you look at the way they're shaped, they almost look like lightning rods or some other way to harvest electricity out of the ether and power things. So during the 1,000-year reign, they were extremely advanced. And then they put these characters in history to us to explain how it happened. And I just look at that as like think of the fairy tales, like they're fairy tale stories. Like, George Washington could never tell a lie. What's his face? Thomas Edison discovered electricity by flying a key on a kite in the air. They're just ridiculous fairy tale stories that we're taught, and we're supposed to believe them. So, there's so much we can go into about, the old world, about people thinking it's Tartaria. I've had a lot of Christians I've heard about that were New Age, believed in Tartaria, that came to believe in Jesus because that Tartaria is evidence of that he ruled for 1,000 years already.
Right. And that makes perfect sense because you can see it in the architecture. You can see it in how they represented everything in their architecture. Wow.
And then Shep, like, so here's the thing. There are so many people that are coming to believe that Jesus came back and that we are living in the little season, and so many people that are discovering Tartaria, which is actually Jesus's 1,000-year reign, that they know that they have to do this. They have to do this Gog Magog war because the deception is diminishing, right? Like people are
Mhm.
figuring it out. I mean, we've talked about before, you know, Planet X could literally be right above us. Actually, no, it couldn't because the weather events are creeping up, or they're using the weather to mitigate, or using the weather weapons to mitigate the weather, which they're
I
doing.
think they're
Like
doing that, but I think they can only do so much and it's going to still get a lot worse. Because I think that thing's only like it's not fully here yet. You know what I mean? It's not fully close, but it's getting here. I mean, there's something's definitely changing. Like the fact that the earth is flooding worldwide now on a daily basis is just, I mean, that's a sign.
it's Shep. Brother, you have done such a good job covering the weather events. I mean, National Geographic or the Weather Channel isn't doing as good of a job as you. I mean, they're shutting down weather satellites and weather stations, and here we are building an observatory, and Shep is actually covering these localized events that are just unbelievable. Like this stuff was not happening 10 years ago, right? Like we didn't get this stuff. If we did, it was once a year. It's like it's happening every week.
Yeah, I mean, daily now, basically, like the latest headline yesterday was biblical flooding in Wisconsin. So, that that tells you like people can't trick themselves because I've heard people say, well, that's just 100-year storm. That's 1,000-year. There's article after article, 1,000-year storm, 1,000-year storm. How many 1,000-year storms do you got to have? For people to realize this is really going on. So I don't know. I mean, I guess I kind of look at things now like, well, we'll wait and see. We're in like a holding period, right? So I guess we'll just have to take it as it comes, right? I mean, it might start happening, just like everything might just hit us. I mean, who
How
even
many
knows?
1,000-year storms can we get in a year? You know what I mean? Like, I think you're exactly right. And this is like, we're just sitting here. We went up, and now we're plateauing. It's still a little going a little higher in intensity. But I think there's just going to be something. I mean, what was it, an 8 or 9 magnitude earthquake in Russia? And now they're
Yeah,
saying it's going to,
8.8.
like, that's serious stuff. But
Yeah.
people are so, like, desensitized now that they were just like, oh, eight something earthquake. Who cares? What if that hits a major city population, Chef?
They had an earthquake today, I think, in Turkey that was like a 5 point something, and it leveled like a lot of stuff. So an 8 in any kind of city, 8.8, that would be just devastating. They got lucky. It was kind of in an area where it was, I guess. But
We had a huge asteroid hit Russia or whatever a couple of years ago that would have just blown up an entire city. I want, like, what is the magnitude of an 8 magnitude earthquake? It's like, I don't even
it's a
remember the
lot
Richter
because it
scale.
goes. I think it's 1,000 times for every point more intense. So, if you could imagine an earthquake at 7, what that feels like, it's literally 1,000 times more intense, I think, for an 8. And then a 9 would be 1,000 times more intense than that. I think it's either 100 or 1,000 times. I think it's 1,000 times.
I wonder what worst devastation of an earthquake that's
I,
recorded.
I've heard in biblical times they think there was like an 11, like 11s. So that's
Oh yeah,
when
that happened. It took Pangea. It took Pangea, and it separated us all into these different continents, which is why the Earth looks like it can all fit together in one. Like that's
Yeah,
what I'm
so
trying to.
yeah, so in biblical times, if they were having 11s and it was like splitting, that's actually what we might be looking forward to, just due to the planet passing. But we are in the second perihelion of its orbit, which means it already passed once, probably like 1,000-ish years ago, or something like that. I don't know, and it in this perihelion, it might even be coming down from the north at us. And that might be a thing too. That's why a lot of people can't observe it. You almost would have to be like right at the North Pole. But it also could approach from the south. But I think the first perihelion is from the south. This one would be from like the north. So when that happens, though, it might pass further out, right? So it might cause less devastation, because the Bible says the earth will never be fully flooded again. Like as if, if you, even if you were in an advanced civilization, let's take like the Anunnaki, and they had knowledge of star charts and how these orbits work. They would know which pass is going to be close and which one. And that probably ultimately is why there's a Bible and documented history of this, because they know that certain passes are closer, certain passes are more devastating, and they got to get the word out for that. And that's why
guys, go ahead, finish up.
Well, that's why maybe these books are so important, obviously, is because it's like someone with knowledge of these events, they're going to come, and so by the word of God being written down on there, I mean, that's why it's so imminently, that's why it's such a thing, and everyone reads the Bible, and it's it's probably the most produced book ever. But ultimately that information came is delivered in a way that where they had knowledge of this. So that it comes from, they had knowledge of this, and they're trying to get it out to the population, but with the deception, and they're like, no one's getting the information properly, and the churches are doing a good job of hiding this. So I don't know if this is all coming right now and real quick, it's going to take a lot of people by surprise. That's
so
all
I think you just nailed a lot there. And we are about to, as we move into the second hour of this broadcast, we are about to drop some bombs here. And it is so important that, I mean, I've shared this with my friends and my family. I would just encourage everybody just to send this or post it on your Facebook page or Instagram or whatever social media you use, Clubhouse, X. It is so important, because we are going to go over some serious stuff in this second hour. And Shep, I haven't told you about this yet, but this, we're gonna unpack the what the narrative is going to be, and we're going to show you what's happening to the earth right now and how they're following a script. Okay, we talked about the script, so here we go. I encourage you to share this. I mean, one share each will get boosted up in the algorithms, and then the narrative that the MSM is putting out won't be as effectful. All right. So I personally, in my opinion, I think they're using Revelations as a script. Okay. So when they do that, like when you deceive somebody, wouldn't it be smarter, like in this manner? Like, okay, we already know what happened. Let's just make people believe that they're in the time period of it happening live when it already happened. So they're like, okay, we know Planet X is coming. We know what it does because it says it in Revelation.
Yeah.
They already know that's going to happen. So let's do other stuff. Let's do a disease. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's make it look like everything's the mark of the beast when that already happened. Let's just keep on this timeline of this script. That way we can keep people connected to a different timeline than they're actually in.
Right.
So we can
Yeah, I see
deceive
what you're
them as
saying.
long as possible. Yeah.
I see what
So-
you're saying. So they follow it, like, you know, there a lot of their psyop. I'm sure they have psyops going in every direction too, to clutter everything. That's what I'm seeing too in the news. But that makes perfect sense. Like, you would follow along with the Book of Revelations, because then, you know, hey, it looks like it's all unfolding, right? But we're actually in a different time period.
Like, it's the
But-
perfect deception. It's like,
Yeah.
if you know what this planet does, why wouldn't you put in something like global warming or something and make it look like, you know,
well, that's
they know what it
totally
does.
they did. Dude, like the Al Gore narrative was the first thing that came out. Now, when I
Remember
look
the
back-
elevator?
Well, dude, if you look back on it, you know, Al Gore, when he first came out in '89 talking about global warming, they had already known about the planet, and that was part of the rhetoric. So that was like part of it. And, you know, they had, I mean, every mainstream station on the planet was pumping that this global warming was human caused, right? And they're still doing that, basically, to, you know, right now. So there's going to be a lot of people, you know, you're going to still hear that, like, this flooding is going to get worse. Right now, they're kind of hiding the flooding by, yeah, they'll report it locally, but there's no one coming out with, like, you know, why isn't the mainstream like reporting all the flooding, like doing exposés on it, like I'm doing on my show, where it's like, oh, here's the flooding for the last 2 weeks worldwide, or
Right.
whatever.
That's a huge deal.
Yeah, they're hiding that. That's the thing, because if people start realizing that, like, the whole planet's doing this, they could start putting 2 and 2 together just by recognizing patterns. You know, so
Well,
I think
that's what's
that,
happening. People
Yeah.
are putting it together, and, you know, I share this with as many people as I can because I know it's the truth. I know what you're
Yeah.
reporting is the truth because it's actually happening. So, like, you're watching your local Fox station, you know, in southern Ohio, and you had like flooding going on there. Well, if your news station it's not picked up by the overall national news, the national news isn't going to know it's happening. So you're like compartmentalized in your own different sections, where in all reality it's happening all over the world. I mean, I had 100-mile-an-hour winds come in and just blow out. Like, I didn't have electricity for 25 days last year. Unheard
Oh, wow.
of. 100-mile-an-hour
That's-
winds. Nobody talked about it. I mean, somebody
Right.
did. The local newspaper, like my city newspaper, which goes out to like 500 people, talked about it. But I didn't realize that until you started bringing this stuff up to me, Shep, that they've compartmentalized it.
Well, and another thing we're going to have to worry about, like, as soon as these transformers start blowing out, like when your electric went out, I don't know if a transformer went out, but like if these bigger transformers go out, there's no replacing them that quick, because they're all made in China and they're special order. So, you know, to get these transformers, and who knows now too, like with this tariff crisis and all this stuff. But I mean, if Carrington events start happening and burning the transformers out because our magnetosphere is weak, ultimately we're going to start losing power everywhere in all these places. And I noticed Trump was approving independent power stations. So like corporations can now build their own power stations and supplies. Elon Musk did this with one of his AI centers, and they actually have diesel turbine generators powering it. to add more power to it.
Yeah, the self-gen, it's a cute dog. The self-gen power stations are the future because the grid doesn't have enough power right now to handle the amount of power it needs because of this massive AI program they're running. So now companies have to do their own self-generation in order to survive. I mean, what do you think a solar system is, right? So this is obviously heating up and becoming more and more of a problem. I'm just looking at this in a manner of how do we prove what we're saying is true? Number one, you just show the MSM articles and show real world evidence of it. And the second way is to build this Shep observatory
Yeah.
and just show it to ya, right?
Yeah.
Like we're
cool.
gonna show them. We're not asking for any money.
Why that's so fascinating to me is I just can never trust, as much as I want to believe a NASA photo or something, I can just never trust it. So, following.
How did NASA get? What is NASA? Like, Chef,
Well,
what is NASA?
It's a place where they basically have a bunch of Nazis that practice all these satanic rituals and different rituals, getting $84 million a day, I believe, is their budget or something like that. And it's like an insane amount of money that they just go and they build these mock-ups with like tinfoil and whatever, and then film. They even got they do a lot of their training in water tanks. That's weird because when you get into like the firmament, and then Werner von Braun has reference of the firmament on his gravestone. Just like a lot of this stuff was out in plain sight. A lot of these NASA mission patches, the patches they use on their jackets and stuff, have hidden symbology, including the NASA logo itself, which a lot of people think shows the orbit of Planet X. It looks like an elliptical kind of like swoosh through there.
But what does NASA even do? We know they're not landing on the moon. SpaceX does all the satellites now. What does NASA do?
In Hebrew, NASA means to deceive. So that tells you right there they're part of the deception.
So is NASA, maybe NASA is just
Their
like
job,
a Hollywood.
Well, yeah, their job's to basically not let us know we're in a on a flat plane in a snow globe.
If anybody, is the phone line still open?
It can be. Yeah.
So if anybody could give a short explanation, precise and to the point, of what NASA is, I'd love for somebody to call in, because this is something that I'm struggling with. I'm thinking like, whoa, we know all the images from NASA are doctored. We know we didn't land on the moon. We know that they haven't launched nearly as many satellites of what Elon has done in the past couple months. But it's like, what is NASA? Is it just a Hollywood production?
I kind of think that it could be. I mean, I think that they have secret space programs like Solar Warden, which would be like above NASA. It would be basically like our military space fleets. And if people get into like deep research, you could research Solar Warden or like secret space programs, super soldiers, stuff like that. But ultimately, supposedly there's these ships that the US government built that are going all around, massive craft. They go around like you see in these video games and Star Trek style or whatever. I don't know. There's no real way to prove that. Supposedly there's been whistleblowers that came out and said they were in these programs. There's also like people have talked about jump gates. I was just now looking at one of these temples was totally destroyed over in I forget the exact city, but over in Egypt, some temple was destroyed, and they rebuilt it. But it was said that there was a Stargate inside this thing, and some of the imagery on the temple walls and everything like alluded to that. So who knows? Like maybe they travel through, different technologies and stuff too.
So then so if we have NASA, right? What's the point of Space Force? And I think Space Force was like put out there real quick. Steve Carell made a joke about it in his Netflix series. But Shep, what is Space Force?
Yeah. Well, probably another layer to this. As they bring in, as they know these ships are starting to show up, these like the New Jersey drones, the orbs, they got to have some time. Space Force is probably where they're like releasing some of our technology that they'll fly around the planet, when some of these things start showing up, and they can just kind of be like, well, that's Space Force, but it's probably like some technology that we already have and stuff. More of like a public, I think that Space Force would be more like a public, a report, more like an agency that's reportable to the public, kind of like NASA, but they're going to claim that.
Shep, it's a military branch.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like what I was describing with the Solar Warden program, but except that's the secret program. So Space Force is going to be like the public face of like a Solar Warden. And if people look up Solar Warden and Google images, you might see some of the spacecraft, what they look like in there, some renditions of it. But I mean, I think it's a good chance they have some of these programs. I've listened to like some of these people that claim to be in the programs and whatnot. It's a weird world. I mean, it might go
military deep. Space Force is a military branch, and the military is used to do what, Shep?
Well, essentially defend, and I mean, obviously to do offense and defensive, military operations. But I think primarily, like, it could be like a planetary defense Space Force.
Yeah, but to protect us from what? There's no other country that has a space military. Like we already have the Air Force.
Right, and you wouldn't really have a Space Force to protect against space-based weapons either that were going to shoot down against ground-based targets. Like Rods from God is a space-based weapons platform that shoots these 20-foot long tungsten rods, drops them down into the gravity well with no thrust, and they just hit with so much kinetic force. It's as much force as a nuclear weapon, and it can bust bunkers and stuff. But they're not going to need like a Space Force to counter that, more than likely. Space Force could be, instead of thinking about it like a military craft flying around trying to fight aliens and stuff, it could also be more like a early alert system where they're tracking the neutrino trails off of these crafts, supposedly the ion trails and whatnot. And supposedly they have technology like this based in Antarctica. But maybe with all the new activity with these orbs, with the New Jersey drones, with all the recent activity that's ramping up, maybe they've had to build some kind of surveillance net, right? Tie our, they're taking down, basically they're getting to the point to where they're not going to fly airplanes anymore because they got the Real ID thing going. They got they're claiming that there's outages all the time now on these commercial jets. Like just the other day, I think it was like United Airlines, like all the air traffic control towers went down. They said they blamed it on a glitch. They said, oh yeah, there's just a glitch, and no flights from that whole outfit were flying at all. You know,
Well, what happened during that event in 2019 with air travel, Shep? They
What?
stopped.
When they, yeah, right. So, and I think
They
that
shut
was
it
also
down.
the dry run, right? And then they blamed it on the
Yep.
virus. So exactly. So at one point you're going to have the magnetosphere, and also the GPS is controlled by the military. So the global positioning system is actually controlled by the U.S. military worldwide, which seems weird because other militaries use that and stuff. So, but like, so our military
So how is
controls.
it?
Isn't that weird? Like we could just be feeding them fake numbers all of a sudden or something.
And
But
what's with like? I look at this and I'm like, the more you look into, like, don't get caught in the weeds. But if you look into the major events of what happened in 2019, those major events, they were testing something. So what do we have?
yeah,
People locked down. We had stimulus payments. We had travel bans. We had quarantines. We had hospitals just fit out with tents and just super expanded. And so I take this as, okay, they rolled this thing out and it was coordinated. Like it really, they knew exactly what they were doing.
Here's another thing. You know, they had those field hospitals rolled out, and they said it was for COVID, but they had trauma surgeons, 50,000 trauma surgeons, and they tried to get 25,000 more. They were literally going to deploy 75,000 trauma surgeons. They deployed 50,000. They rolled out these field hospitals in every state, and I found out it was for asteroid impacts, and one hit in Akure, Nigeria, and that's what they were worried about. But they might be worried about stuff like that in the future, but also they could even be worried about an alien attack. I mean, why do you have like
trauma for what? Like,
right? Like
it wasn't trauma.
Yeah, that's the main thing. And I even had a doctor who's part of America's Frontline Doctors. He's Dr. Richard Urso. He appeared in my film, and I went and interviewed him, and you know, we came to the conclusion like they were making up all these COVID numbers. They were just like literally like making them up. But at the same time, they were tying all these databases together, kind of like Palantiring everyone's health stuff together. But they were like fabricating like the COVID numbers so that they could like push this whole lockdown and agenda. But at the same time, they got all that data like tied together during that whole period. So now like everything's talking to each other, and now they want to do like Palantir. So like ultimately it's tracking. Like I thought, okay, like if you've been vaccinated, yeah, it gets rid of weak people, it gets rid of old people, it gets rid of all this stuff. But it's also like if you have a planet coming in and it's going to cause extreme devastation, these governments might genuinely be worried about their population. They might look at it like this.
I don't think it's like there's this narrative out there that all of that was for like it's some like the way that the alt media described it, they made it feel like it was like evil. Well, in order for you to deceive somebody to do something, I think genuinely the people that are lower down in the totem pole, they have to believe they're doing something good. Even management has to believe they're doing something good. So if I take what happened, and this is when I said in hour number 2, we're going to get to this. If I take what happened during that event, just replace that disease with an alien attack.
Right. Right. Or even the arrival of Planet X, like even at minimum, which will obviously have people and creatures with it. because it should. So,
Well, I mean, Shep. Look, look at it. We know this planet's coming because not just the Earth is experiencing all these weather changes, which we believe are they're not as worse as they actually are because we're using weather modification to make the symptoms go down. But
that's what I think. Yeah, a lot of people think they're modifying the weather, but I actually know that they're not. In most cases, they're modifying it to stop these things because, like, a lot of China's underwater, and I don't know if people realize, like, what would it look like if 10 major cities in the U.S. were underwater right now? Well, that might be the picture right now if they weren't modifying it. And I don't know, they can only do it.
It's not about what actually is happening. It's about what people perceive to be happening. So if they did all that, like, I don't think, like, here's the thing. I believe the Planet X is coming. I believe that it is close. I believe that based on the geographical evidence and the weather reports and the stuff that they're saying is happening on all the other planets. And I think a lot of people tuning in right now also believe there is a Planet X. And I know a lot of Christians who send me videos about Planet X, and they heightened it and pushed it up, pushed the narrative about Planet X, throttled people that could view it during 2015, because they don't just censor people, they shadow ban them to where less people see what they're saying, because they can do that. They're companies. So what I believe is happening is I believe that Planet X is actually New Earth, and we are going to be manipulated into attacking it, because to us, they're going to make it look like it's an alien flying saucer, a mothership, Shep.
You know what's weird too? Like, I would say, like, 2 years ago, they came out with an article in the mainstream in several different sources, and it said Earth is going to soon be experiencing a second moon. They said, oh yeah, we know now that Earth has a second moon, and you're going to start seeing it eventually. And I just find that so bizarre and weird. It's like, well, what do they know?
Look, I think they put out different narratives to explain what Planet X actually is.
Yeah.
And then they're just like, whatever's received it's like they game plan this stuff, like a second move. Will people believe that's it? But then they're like, I don't know. They're just there's so much happening right now that's not being covered. I mean, even people don't even use, like, people have to type out www.thiswebsite.com.
Well,
people just type it into search engines now.
Yeah, and the problem is too is how nothing's, like, tied together. Like, people aren't. I'm trying to tie this stuff together. Like, we're doing this show trying to tie it all together, but just by the mainstream reporting things here and there and alternative people, no one's really getting the bigger picture. Now, I was even watching one of these YouTube channels. I can't remember the guy's name, but he covers topics, and he's wrapped up in the left-right paradigm somewhat and all this stuff, and it's a lot of politics and stuff. But he's basically talking about, look, Trump's doing this, and that's definitely going to make things better, and there's people still wrapped up in Trump's making things better and this and that. And really, is just, I did a show earlier today, and it was laying out all the things that Trump did during his first term and second term, and it's really just paved the way for the New World Order. I mean, it's paved the way for the whole. You wouldn't have even have thought Trump would have. I didn't really even realize Trump did this much, but basically he brought in the whole New World Order and set it up, and now we got AI moratorium, laws on AI can't be changed for 10-year period. There's a moratorium on it or whatever.
So there's a timestamp for you. right?
Yeah.
Trump put
Right.
in all these 5G towers too. Remember when that was a huge thing, and then that disease happened?
Well, he's
Remember that?
selling, they made it to where the US is now selling off land to foreign countries and stuff, our water supplies. I mean, they're like selling US land to like corporations now and stuff. All of a
So
sudden
I
Trump
think
opened it up.
I think the point of the New World Order was to, like, there doesn't need to be like a New World Order with one ruler, right? I think the point of the New World Order was to get the world in a position to be able to function as one. That's what I think it is. And we're there. I mean, we are there. Like, let's say a
Where-
huge
You-
500-mile wide mothership comes down, attacks a
Which
couple
is right.
cities. Wouldn't the world? It would be Independence Day, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, well, definitely. And then that goes back to, like I was saying earlier, that Ronald Reagan speech. And obviously he was an actor. Trump's an actor. So
I watched The Apprentice. And then I listened to Donald Trump's speech or the videos of him talking.
yeah,
I can't tell the difference between him as the apprentice or him as the president.
he's in character. There's also people that think that the current Donald Trump is a like a clone, like how they had different versions of Biden. I haven't personally analyzed that.
Well, it's two wings of the same bird.
Yeah,
You know?
but someone's
And
telling me
Shep-
that might be going on. So
Could you, like, if I give you like 20 seconds, could you pull up the because I don't know how to do it on my end, but could you pull up like a clip of Donald Trump and The Apprentice? I think that'd be really funny to watch. But
yeah,
it's funny how we get like these parties left and right. It's like we have to choose one of them, and then they polarize each of the sides, like left and right. Abortion, you're either for it, or pro-life, baby murder, whatever. You're either for it or you're against it. So you then go into that one side of the political party and you don't have a choice. They give us like two choices, but both of them are the wings of the same bird. Like, that's why if you look at like gun rights and gun control, Barack Obama was actually the #1 seller of guns, because once you threaten taking the guns, what do people do? They go out and buy a bunch of them. So
yeah,
it's
that's
almost
a good
like,
point.
and then you participate in it. So when you vote for one of these people, whether you agree with it or not, you're saying to yourself, okay, well, this is far better than the other one. You're still participating in what their methods and plans are.
Yep. Here's a clip from The Apprentice.
I have great respect for your tenacity, for the fact that you just don't give up. But Rod, you're fired.
Fine.
No, dude, you see when he was talking? Like, play one more. Play one more. When he's talking, you can't tell the difference of him between if he's acting or if he's not acting. Like, it is insane. It's like these guys are such good actors.
Smith, you've done a hell of a lousy job. You're late and you don't treat our vets right. Jim, I'm sorry, you're fired. Get out of here.
That's a clip of him
acting,
doing this.
Dude.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. What is this? Donald Trump Venus the Apprentice? We don't have to watch the whole thing, but Donald Trump Venus the Apprentice. He's acting, bro.
Descubre más de Dedos y Piecito en Instagram.
Oh, no. They always get you.
Do you understand me? And I'm going to sue you if I have to. Do you understand me? Yes, I hung up. You didn't get disconnected. I hung up.
Performance could have been better.
Could have been better.
It could have been a hell of a lot better. But look, I'm not a guy who's going to run around blaming people. So I'm going to take responsibility for that. So if you want to fire me, go right ahead.
All right, Gene,
but I think
you're fired. Let me ask you a question. He's knocking the hell out of Stephanie. He's telling me how bad Stephanie is, and you're interrupting him with nonsense over nothing. Why don't you let him knock? He's not knocking you for a change. I mean, how stupid can you be?
Mr. Trump,
Well, let me ask you this: he's knocking Stephanie, and you want him to stop knocking Stephanie. I'm starting to think that maybe you should be fired. What do you think about that?
Mr. Trump,
Why wouldn't you let him go? Let me ask you this, Michael. He's killing her. He's going after her. She should be fired, according to him. And you're trying to stop him from talking.
Because Mr. Trump,
Hey, look, you claim to be like me. The difference is I work hard. You've been lazy. You've been nothing but trouble. And now
Dude, it's the same guy, man. Like, if you, all right, one more, like Trump's best debate moments. If you can type that in, and next time I'll do this. I'll get set up and I'll do it. But Trump's best debate moments, like, remember what you just saw in The Apprentice, and then listen to him in the debates. It is literally him acting. And Joe Biden was the same thing. It's like Joe Biden, they said Jim Carrey played his character.
Take 30 seconds. Let me just, tough guy. A lot of times you'll have, and it doesn't work very well with.
How tough is it
a
to
lot
take
of times
property from an elderly woman?
Let me talk. Quiet.
Tough business.
Oh, no, you're a tough guy, Jim.
And we need to have a leader that is
real tough.
That was
You're never
good.
going to be president of the United States.
With the background laughing.
42 and you're at 3, so far I'm doing better.
Doesn't matter.
So far I'm doing better. You started off
And
over
look
here.
at the opponent, just like looks like a little puppy.
Pretty soon you're gonna be off the end.
Mr. Trump.
I never attacked him on his look, and believe me, there's plenty of subject matter right there. That I can tell.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
It's scripted, dude.
The total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more border patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
Donald Trump being the Trumpiest Trump can be.
Like it's like the same setup as a late night comedy show. Like it's literally he is acting, and all these presidents have been acting because Lucifer can't rule this world anymore, so he manipulates through deception. Because if we participate in it, we're giving the okay for that person or that agenda to move forward, because guess what? We voted for it, right?
Yeah.
We voted for it.
Yeah.
Man. And that's just what you got to realize. Like, this whole world is operating in deception, and you don't have to participate in it. You really don't. You can ask the Lord Jesus to show you the truth, so no weapon formed against you will prosper. And then you just go, you pray, and you just go do what the will of God is. And by doing the will of God, the easiest way for me is just to stay away from the gray areas, where if you have to like give something an excuse, you don't do it. It's like if you have to give an excuse of why you're voting for this person, you just don't vote. Don't participate in it.
Yeah, I try not to participate because I just realize it's all rigged up in that, wow, yeah, he's definitely an actor. And I think that does play into the Ronald Reagan thing and why they put Reagan in place and why they put Trump in place during this time period, maybe even. So knowing that the country would be going in the continuity of government and stuff, why not put an actor there? Also, he's business minded. Maybe he can help close out the accounting, close out Doge. So that's a pretty good choice.
Well, I found something else out about Doge, Shep. You want to hear it?
Yeah.
So Doge, like if you listen to Elon Musk talk and what he was saying Doge was doing, he talks about all these brilliant kids that are coming in and doing stuff, installing systems. Essentially, part of what Doge was doing is implementing the most high-tech form of AI into all of the government, like the government divisions.
getting AI installed and stuff. I think that too.
Yeah.
I think they were doing that and closing down accounting and stuff.
Well, that's what it
And
did. It's like
because you get AI and you don't need employees anymore either.
Nope. And that's they think that they can survive this.
Yeah.
Like they're being told, they're looking at it as, okay, there's a threat from space coming. We've told everybody it's Planet X. It I mean, it's literally called that. X, the social media site, SpaceX. They rub it in your face. Elon's going to be a very big, important part of the truth narrative when this all rolls out, which it already is rolling out. But they're being told, okay, the Earth is at an extinction level event. That's why there's so many movies about it. And we have to come together and fight because we can win. And at some point, people are going to have to make the decision, like, whose team are you on?
This is just going to get so weird. Like it's weird that, everything we've been talking about on this show for several years now is basically coming to pass. And this now in the most recent months and all this stuff. And I remember talking about Donald Trump throwing that parade. They still never moved that military gear out of DC. That's still there. So everything that we talked about is like coming to this. I think they kind of pushed the date back a little bit of some of this stuff. I think they thought they might have to have troops on the street by like right now. But for some reason it's arriving a little later, or the disasters aren't as big as they thought they would be as early on, or something.
AI's telling them like, hey, we're not ready to do this yet. The public's not going to believe it. Like they got to get a better setup,
like a better,
right. No, I think that whole DC thing, you called that, man. I mean, that was so, like, that blew my mind when you said that. They were literally moving military forces to protect Washington, D.C. under the guise of a parade. So they used that $25 million, $50 million or whatever to move those troops into D.C. And if you watch the parade, it looked like a Cracker Jack show. It's like something out of like
they were just like, oh yeah, here's the parade, we're done. Like that's that, right? Because they didn't care about that. That wasn't the mission.
It was just the show.
Yeah,
it was just a show. But you're like, why are those troops still there?
Yeah, that's the thing. All that equipment, everything.
And isn't this something that like Alex Jones should be covering? Like, what do you think?
See, that's the major red flag right there. That all of these supposed so-called truthers are not even on point with this. I mean, shouldn't Alex Jones basically be covering the erosion of posse comitatus, all the Trump things? I don't see him doing that. I mean, like, he might gloss over something. I don't even know, but he's not like going crazy about it. Like right now, if people saw the show I did earlier today on a lot of the stuff that Trump's put into place, it's crazy. I mean, someone like Alex Jones should be there every day, just like hammering on it. And we're not seeing anyone.
At least freaking question it. Like, why can't there be one person in the news that has 200 something subscribers on all mainstream media? Why can't they just ask a question?
I think that's the biggest red flag right now, like what you're talking about. That's what almost scares me the most, knowing how the media operates and not seeing any of this action, and then seeing real contrived reports that are kind of go out across the board on the alternative media, not only in the mainstream now, but like the alternative media has reporting that goes out all at the same time, kind of parroting like the mainstream used to do. They do that throughout the alternative media now. And we're seeing that too, you know, and they'll have someone like Kanye come on and give a big diversion, or Laura Loomer's a big distraction
Well,
now.
I think I figured out why they do like that stupid stuff like that. I think they do stupid stuff like that so you forget about what they were talking about before. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Because I frankly can't remember anything except for the Epstein list. Like,
Right.
what was going on before Kanye?
Well, yeah, getting there's more distractions than ever right now too in the media. Like, that's another red flag. It's just coming from every angle.
They're just going to keep doing it, but now they have this 3-eye atlas, the arrival of this thing, the fact that it looks like the side of a flying saucer. Okay. This is most likely this is going to be one of the biggest media pushes we've ever seen, Shep. And it's gonna keep ramping up. We'll talk again in maybe a week or two, and more people are gonna know about this 3-eye atlas thing because
it's gonna start ramping up. Yeah.
And that's why we're starting the Shep Observatory, SHEP.
That's so exciting,
and
dude.
you know, it's called Shep because, you know, he's a true investigative journalist, and we should all appreciate everything he's sacrificed and done. So I'm naming an observatory after him. And I'm just going to keep building it. I'm investing in your audience. We're investing in your audience. And we're going to follow this thing and be like the frontline battlefield news. Because if this turns into what I think it's going to be, you know, I want you and I to be recognized as the frontline soldiers that, you know, got in front of the narrative. No matter what happens to us, I mean, this stuff's going out there, man. Like, all over. People are going to pick up this feed, post it on their channel.
Can you imagine if we start capturing some unbelievable imagery from that thing?
Oh, we will.
And oh man, this is going to be interesting, guys. Too, if you're on YouTube, subscribe to the Skysweeper channel. Here's the logo, Skysweeper Live. It's youtube.com/@Skysweeper Live, all one word.
So, Shep, check this out. This is the new remote control I got.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see what it says on the buttons, but I can program it to follow the celestial positions of the comet, where it's going and everything. So now I can digitally run it to be able to track it and make sure that we see everything at all points of time. So we're not going to miss a second of this thing, man. If something weird happens, we're going to show it.
That's amazing, dude. Like that's crazy that it can track that like that. Wow. That's got to be like a bunch of work you got to put into that to even learn how to do that, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a lot of time and a lot of money, and you know, but I'm all in, man. Like, I'm all in.
Yeah, me too. I mean, this is it's a one of a kind opportunity, you know, a once in a lifetime opportunity. Really, not many people get to point their own high powered telescopes, you know, and have them track objects. So.
Well, it's for us. It's for us. So, you know, we're not just two guys here. There's a lot of people that have supported, and it's just something. It's about being a part of something bigger, and I think this could be the biggest event in human history when they say that extraterrestrials exist and there's a mothership coming. And I just want to be, you know, just want to give good, accurate information, and there's nobody better to relay that and understand it than you.
Well, I appreciate that. And obviously it's a team. I can't afford any of this equipment, but what a great opportunity. we have, you know, I met you, and you're all set up right now. So, you know, that's perfect. And, you know, you got to be a certain kind of person to want to do that and share that with people too. So, you know, that's obviously
You got to be a little
really
nutty.
beneficial. Yeah. Well, it's beneficial to humanity. So
Right.
I think it's,
You know, I have
think it's big.
I have a family and everything, and you know, I'm just kind of sacrificing some time with them and just putting this together for us. And I don't know. I don't think I'd be doing this if there wasn't something dramatic that was going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, you can tell this is all, it's all going to come to a head, especially like, I mean, all, you know, if they're going to do a great reset by 2030, this is what I keep thinking in the back of my head, then all of this has to take place before that. So something's happening.
I think they're giving us a time frame of 2030 so they can hit us with shock and awe, because if everybody thinks,
Yeah.
oh, remember what they did with 2012?
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what would have happened if things would have happened in 2010? You know, it would have caught everybody surprised.
Yeah, the big ruse of 2012, basically.
Right,
Where
and then they set up like this whole Planet X thing. They pushed and throttled coverage of it through the dupes or the paid operatives. They pushed coverage of it for the Cried Wolf story, right? Like where it didn't happen. So now when it's starting to happen, it's really starting to happen. People aren't going to believe it, and then when they hit them with an actual event, it's going to cause even more shock and awe. It's like the saying, "I can't believe he'd do that. I can't believe this just happened." Right? But see, your eyes are showing you it happened, so it shocks and awe you. All right, man, this was fun.
Yeah, dude, this was definitely a great broadcast. Everyone, share this out. Get this information out, and we'll do this some more. I can't wait to get this all going. Obviously, it's a lot of work you're putting into this, James, so thank you. And I know everyone else is going to thank you when it comes down to it. So
what was the no, well, Shep, this is partly I mean, you've given me so much information over the years that I've been able to make very good life choices in what you've covered and what the events are on the horizon. It kind of molded and shaped me into, you know, being the best person I could be from a truth standpoint with reporting the news. And that's why it's named Shep, SHEP. And I forget what the letters are in it, but it's something cool.
Me too. Yeah, I'll have to tweet it out. AI came up with a brilliant acronym.
Here, I'll read it. I'll read it real quick. As I look this up, though, are people going to the YouTube channel to subscribe? I know there's like there's been some chatter on it.
There's been some new subscribers, but it's not too crazy. Please subscribe, everyone. Don't forget, you know, YouTube makes it hard for people to get a hold of this information. So
yeah, here it is. Shep, SHEP, Solar and Heavenly Exploration Program. That's perfect.
Oh yeah, that's good.
That's cool, man. Yeah.
Well,
all right. Well, I'm gonna go add this to the system, and I'm having a little event over here tonight to look at it at 10. So.
All right, brother. Good talking
to
you. I can't wait.
All right, bye.
Everyone, have a great night. Shepard Ambellas Show, we're out. Thanks, James. Thank you so much. We'll see you.